G'day everyone, Scott from CHI. We're just in here on a Sunday, catching up on some bits and pieces, and while we're waiting for the machine to finish, I thought I'd just give you a bit of a rundown on assemblies. About 80% of the heads that we send out are assembled, and I was just going to run through how and why we assemble them the way we do, and some of the different options. Valves are pretty straightforward. All our valves we get out of South America, out of Argentina, and that's where the best valves come from, because that's where they've got the best metal to make them. I think that's pretty sort of common knowledge. Valve locks, same. All we use chromoly machine valve locks, same. I think that's pretty common practice in the industry. When it comes to springs and retainers, there's a lot of variation, and there's some lessons to be learnt and some lessons that we learnt the hard way. Now, our most common assemblies are for a hydraulic roller, and this is our most common spring. It's a 400 pound per inch rate spring that we set up with. We can set up 140, 150 pound on the seat, anywhere in between. Now that's a common spring for a road going hydraulic roller cam, or you can also run it on a flat tapped solid cam. Now this represents at least 70% of the assemblies that we do, okay? And we match that to a retainer that we manufacture in-house. And I just wanted to give you a bit of information about what can cause retainers to fail and why we do them the way we do. Okay, if you test a retainer as a static tensile test, if I pop that together, and you effectively hold it there and pull on that valve till it fails, what it will do is it will broach the retainer. What that effectively means is it'll just pull the valve and valve lock straight through the retainer. But in reality, if it fails in the car, that's not how it fails. Like, generally it'll fail because something's gone wrong. It can fail through fatigue. Now this retainer's chromoly retainer, and we previously had a different design, which we learnt the hard way, had some flaws in it, and it wasn't that the material wasn't strong enough or the design wasn't right. And if you tested it for a static failure, it might take 2 or 3 tons to broach that retainer to pull that spring, that valve lock through the retainer. But in reality, what happened was we had a pretty thin section material, and when a retainer fails like that, let's say you have a retainer that's sort of maybe shaped like this, and here's your valve lock, and you've got a step here that's locating the spring, okay? So, like I said, if it fails in a static test, it'll broach, but in reality, what happens is fatigue puts a lot of load in here, and this is where the material will shear. Now, if you want to cut metal, you shear it. This is how metal fails. Okay, so as the spring's putting load here, this is working. Now, what happened was, it wasn't that our design wasn't strong enough. What happened was this section was too thin, and when the material gets nitrided, we generally get a 0.005 thou deep nitride. Now, that can't be perfectly controlled. So what we ended up with a situation was where we had about 1 mil of material here, 1.5, that ended up through hardened. Now that caused, failures and a lot of heartache here. So after that, we changed our design. So through the shear point, we have a design that looks something like this. Now, and that might go through, and then your valve lock's there. So through any shear point with a chromoly retainer, whether it be 4130 or 4340, is a minimum of 3 millimeters of section, which, in the old terms is 120 thou. That way it eliminates any sort of variations in your nitriding depth and failure. Now, this is a great retainer in street applications, street strip, things like that. But if you are racing something where you are getting consistent high RPMs, and I'm thinking things like off-road buggies, ski racing, sustained high RPM where